Canada.
Oh, Canada.
That's not what we're doing.
Hello and welcome to the start of this week's UCF podcast. I'm your host. That's right. I'll even give you my name. It's Francis. Sitting very far away from me at a minimum safe distance is my brother here, Clark, and we're here to talk to you about the fights that happened this past Saturday, UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Murphy. Let's jump into it because I have a lot to say about this main event. I did a little pre-fight predictions video. I don't know if any of you saw it. I was almost 100% right. And I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad that one of my favorite fighters lost in the way I predicted he would, because Lerone Murphy showed us that he has zero quit. In every way that some other fighters on this card did not show heart, Murphy picked up the slack. He was up against the single most dangerous striker in MMA history. Edson Barboza has snatched souls from men who are winning 4 out of 5 rounds more than once. It's one of his favorite things to do. He has singularly the best kicks and knees in MMA. I'm not willing to compromise on that, even at like 38 years old. Barboza also has a chin that meant that he was not going away throughout 5 rounds of this fight. And even though this fight was almost all one-way traffic coming from Lerone Murphy going Barboza's way, Barboza almost knocked Murphy out with an up kick at the very end of round 1. And instead of discouraging Lerone Murphy, it lit a fire underneath him, and he started to go harder. What allowed Lerone Murphy to get ahead of this most dangerous striker? A couple of things. As I mentioned in the pre-fight prediction video, Edson Barboza's hands are not what he gets work done with. And if he's being forced to box with you, he's going to lose if you have good boxing. Lerone Murphy has good boxing, and he showed that over 5 rounds. He was relentless, he was accurate, and he hit with power. Now, the official stats on this one are 220 strikes to 79 over 5 rounds. And Edson Barboza in no moment of this fight gave up. Every single time he got rocked, he backed up, reset, and got ready to throw. And Lerone Murphy would feint to either draw out the counterpunch before he had even thrown anything, or he would feint and check that Barboza wasn't reacting and would punish him for not reacting. He kept this fight in boxing range, which is just a little bit too close for Edson to use most of his dangerous kicks. Edson had the most success in this fight besides that up kick with low calf kicks to Murphy's lead leg. This is actually really smart, and at times it looked like he might be able to finish Murphy off. Lerone Murphy limped out of the cage. He limped out of the octagon after this victory. So it's not like he wasn't taking damage. If you see his face after the fight, it's not like he never got hit. This wasn't a domination where Murphy did not run into trouble. The fact that the numbers are this one-sided, even though he took the shots he did, is what's most impressive about this. Now, I watched Murphy's fight prior against Kulabau, and I really wasn't impressed. I thought, wow, we have another kind of modern MMA fighter who plays it safe most of the time. He's going to sit on your back if that's what he has to do to win a fight. But what Murphy did this Saturday was he went out there and he showed the rest of the division that he means business and that he's going to cause problems. He's going to be there even if you hit him with the hardest punch in the whole division, with the hardest body kick in the whole division. More than once, Edson threw what could be a finishing liver shot to Murphy, and you could see that it hurt Murphy, and Murphy took Edson down reflexively because he knew he was going to fall down anyways. Imagine your body is actually giving out on you and you're able to force your legs to push another guy on his butt. That was the effort that Murphy was putting in. If I sound incensed, if I sound
You sound a little bit incensed, to be honest with you, man.
Yeah, well,
you're a big fan?
That's because
here's a question. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How's that grapple game looking?
Really good.
Yeah? He's got good grapples?
He's got what I was referencing before was the previous fight that he had where he sat on another guy's back when he had trouble on the feet. He doesn't have to stand and trade with you.
Right. Yeah, because I hadn't seen him fight before. And that's very impressive. And this was a really good striking round for him, striking match. But I guess just the worry always then is that, when you're that good at striking, some guys really aren't that good on the ground. But if he is, then yeah, this is seriously, this is something else. He's on a win streak now too, isn't he? Like he's continued it.
He's still undefeated. He's undefeated. He's had one draw or no contest, I think, but he's still undefeated. And yeah, like that's what's most impressive about this performance is that Murphy had a clear advantage. Edson Barboza does not wrestle, and he does not do well with wrestlers. He can get back to his feet. You just have to keep dragging him down, and he gets tired out. Murphy chose to beat him at what he was best at. That's like GSP shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, and he really is a headhunter too, man. If you see these like strikes by target, you got 78 of his strikes to the head. This guy is just a sniper.
Yeah. I honestly, I would prefer if he would mix up his targets a little bit more because that's better for.
No, dude, just hit him in the head.
Well,
that's
especially
where
if
the
you
brain
have an opponent
is.
who's not going away.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
But like that's literally the only criticism I could give him for this performance. He did not shy away from anything Barboza was throwing. He made sure that he stayed in his face. He toughed out the hardest parts of this fight, and just showed that he's serious business. He's really good. 145 pounds is a deep, dangerous division, and he's going to get a top 10 fight, and there's a good chance that he wins that fight when he gets it. So keep an eye out for when they announce his next fight. I'm a fan now. Lerone Murphy has another fan. I wasn't before this fight. He beat one of my favorite fighters and beat a fan out of me. That's a pretty big
Congrats, deal. Murphy, man. You made it. You got the Francis fanhood.
That's right. And he got a Fight of the Night bonus, which is surely deserved.
Yeah, definitely.
Those guys went to war.
Definitely the right call.
Our co-main event, a lot less to talk about here. We had Chaos Williams versus Carlston Harris. Harris is more of a submission ace. If you watch any of his wins by submission, that squeeze looks pretty fucking tight. But Chaos Williams is like, if you've ever played any of the UFC games, he's probably like the first creative fighter you ever made where you just focused on nothing but punching and you would try to knock out the other fighter in the first round. That's really Chaos Williams' game. It's working for him. He's had some setbacks in the UFC, but it's working for him. His opponent, Carlston Harris, it's not a long fight, right? Like this ended a minute 30 of round number 1. We had a vicious, I believe it was a right hook that just immediately knocked out Harris. He had some follow-up shots on the ground that kept him on the mat for longer. Very brutal knockout. Great if you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Chaos Williams is going to cause problems at welterweight because not a lot of guys hit like that at welterweight right now.
Yeah. I'm always cheering. Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say Harris also, his right hand, he throws rabbit punches.
Yeah.
Like he actually throws a rabbit punch. And if you go and watch the ending sequence, if he had proper punching technique with his right, he would have hurt Williams because he caught him out of position. And then he punched Williams and it did nothing. And then he was punished with that killer right hook.
Yeah, so you can't be going into the ring and not having proper punching technique. Like I can forgive it if it's like round 5 and you're exhausted, like screwing a couple up. But yeah, that's like, honestly, you don't want to be seeing that shit.
Nope. Moving on from that kind of lame co-main event. Good job, Chaos Williams. He got one of the performance bonuses for that knockout. It's such a steep decline in the quality of these fights after the main event. Themba Gorimbo versus Ramiz Brahmaj. This was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. For a number of reasons. Now, I could say a lot about this fight. I'm going to insert a rant that I recorded before we started the podcast. Themba Gorimbo versus, man, that's like actually the worst fight I've ever seen in the UFC, probably ever. Not even
yeah, you serious? Gorimbo dominated, man. He was just good.
I honestly think that fight could have been declared a draw. I know that technically the one guy only threw 3 punches and Gorimbo threw 43 alleged strikes. But when like 90% of your strikes are coming in the clinch and neither guy actually is hurt at the end of the fight, that's all there is to say about this fight. Unless you saw the post-fight interview, because Themba Gorimbo went postal on some Twitter users. You can look that up. He really does like just lose it and starts yelling at people online. He has very serious reasons to be doing that. I'm not trying to throw shade, but it's always interesting when a fighter gets way longer than normally they do on the mic and they just go after Twitter.
God, it's so funny, dude. Like I don't know. It's just so interesting how mad certain fighters get. Like they're just looking at social media that hard. And I get that in this circumstance, I can kind of understand it a little better. But just in general, the idea that like some dude on Twitter pissed you off so much that your post-fight interview is like a rant against him, is kind of amusing to me.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But he gets a win. Actually, there's a match to make. Let's go Chaos Williams versus Themba Garimbo.
Yeah.
Let's see who wins that one. Can Chaos Williams shuck him off when he's leaned up against him on the fence? Let's find out.
No, that's a master leaner right there, man. There's no hope.
Ooh, master lean technique. Actually, no. Watching Ramiz Brahmaj continue to try like inside trips when he doesn't have dominant underhook position and just not setting up any of his takedowns properly. Out of those 5 takedowns that Themba is accredited, most of them are like just lazy trips that his opponent half threw. And I really just don't understand what was going on in this fight. Just bizarre.
Yeah.
Before that, we had a nice little scrap between Adrian Yanez and Vinicius Salvador. Salvador has a real tough UFC journey, and I think it's over. He's had 3 fights in the UFC. He's lost all 3.
Yeah, this is the classic. You just can't pull it off. I mean, maybe some of the people get a 4th, but I don't think this guy needs a 4th. I think we know.
Well, okay.
Oh, yeah? You're a big fan?
I'm not a big fan, but I'm going to explain to you how he got into the UFC, how he probably made the UFC angry, and why he ended up where he was here. Adrian Yanez was a prospect that got pushed a little bit too fast and was knocked out by Rob Font. He then got leg kick TKO'd by Martinez, the guy that Aldo beat. So that was Martinez's last victory, was this prospect, Adrian Yanez. So they pushed him a little bit too hard into the ranked opponent situation. He took a couple of L's. And so he's coming off of 2 losses. They give him an opponent that's also coming off of 2 losses. But that's not the whole story here. Vinicius Salvador did not fight at bantamweight in his UFC debut or his second fight. He came in off of the Dana White's Contender Series with a whole bunch of victories in Brazil, a whole bunch of finishes, but he's not a 125-pound fighter. So to get into the UFC, they probably were looking for 125ers, and he heard that, so he cut weight to a division that he did not naturally fit into. So while starving himself and dehydrating himself, he lost his first 2 UFC fights. Now he goes to UFC brass and says, please let me fight at my natural weight class. I'm really a 135er. Give me a chance. And they say, okay, we'll give you a chance. And they make this matchup. And from the get-go, I was pretty sure he was getting knocked out because he spent 2 training camps prior starving and dehydrating himself. And then he does a turnaround to fight at his natural weight class against a killer prospect the UFC likes and wants to push. This was never going to go his way. Now, that's a little bit of inside baseball, and I don't have proof for all of that.
So you're just making shit up. I was like, oh, dude, that's really interesting.
No,
You're just lying?
No. Here are
you saw it in a dream.
Here are the pieces of the puzzle. Vinicius Salvador does not have a 135 or a 125-pound fight until he's trying to get into the UFC. His only fights in that division are with the UFC. Then once he's lost twice in that division, then he goes up to what was his weight class before he entered the UFC. Like, I really don't think I have to make too many leaps of logic to put these pieces together.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like a plausible explanation, but you are insane, so I don't know.
Either way, I am pretty happy that Yanez got this KO. He's got sharp hands. He's got pretty good counter punching. I think the piece of the puzzle that he's missing for his game is a way to poke and prod your opponent. If you want to be a really good counterpuncher, you have to be making your opponent uncomfortable at all times so that he lashes out in a way that isn't advantageous to him. If you give your opponent a chance to throw their best strike in the ways that they want to, and you're going to try to counter that, it's just so much harder than making him like panic throw a kick or a punch just to try to get you off him. That's so much easier to counter. So that's something I'd like to see from Yanez going forward, is adding some more tools to his game to frustrate his opponent and to make them want to come at him. Because he gets these KOs counterpunching. That's how he does it. But good victory for him. Nice KO. That's another first round finish that we had on our card. Before that, my favorite WMMA fighter, Angela Hill, coming out with a beautiful victory and
Yeah.
getting one of our 3 performance of the night bonuses. This was an awesome showing from
Yeah,
Angela Hill.
this was great. I would honestly, I was a little bit skeptical on her, but seeing her fight, I was like, holy shit, she's looking good, honestly.
Angela Hill has always been the woman. She's had hiccups in her game previously. She's had a lot of trouble with grappling. That's been a massive hole in her game for a long time, and she's filling that. And I have to tell you, whenever I see a fighter jump a guillotine, I think you've just thrown the fight. You've just given up a round. You're going to sit on your back for 5 minutes. Angela Hill had it locked in. She jumped the guillotine, and within 3 seconds, she rolled her opponent over into mount. That's what you want to see when someone jumps guillotine. If they're able to get on top after jumping on their back, there's no way out. You're going to have to tap. And that's exactly what Angela Hill did. Awesome victory. She was scrappy the whole way through. She throws all sorts of interesting punches and elbows. She's one of the best WMMA fighters throwing elbows out there. Very effective. Love to see it. Love to see her getting a victory. And
She's in the
she was
top 10
saying,
again, man. She made it in.
well, yeah, exactly. That's what the commentary team was saying. You're going to be in the top 10 coming up next week. And she's like, I've never been in the top 10 before. This is music to my ears.
Yeah,
So
she's had a lot of
God bless
development,
Angela
man.
Hill.
Didn't she debut in like 2014 or something?
Yes, she's from
She
the original
is.
generation
Yeah.
of fighters that like Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey was, and she's just kept working and kept getting better.
Yeah, and you
That's-
really got to hand
oh,
it to her, man, because that is the effort that's gone into that, and she was looking great last night. It's like, fuck yeah, dude. That's what you want to see from these competitors.
Absolutely, every time. Now, what you don't want to see from your competitors is what we saw
Oh, no.
in Tom Nolan versus Victor Martinez.
Ugh. Yeah.
I messaged you in the middle of this fight, or maybe right after it had ended, and I specifically said Victor Martinez looked like he was concussed before he ever stepped into the ring.
Yeah.
His corner was screaming at him from the second the fight started to go forward and get this guy. He looked like a deer in the headlights from the get-go, and when he knocked down his opponent, Tom Nolan, he almost didn't know what to do.
Yeah, he was like scared almost. He's like, oh, God, are you okay? Yeah.
It was just the strangest looks I've seen in a fight where the guy very clearly had a power advantage over his opponent and then just fumbled coming in, like just trying to get into a clinch where he would feel safe and was need coming in.
Yeah.
He was need in the gut, immediate body finish. And this is why I was saying like Murphy could really benefit from throwing more body shots, is because guys are weak to the body. No one will ever show it until you hit that sweet spot. Doesn't matter. Hit them to the body. No one likes getting punched in the gut. Just do it. It's going to work.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do it for sure.
Hell yeah, man. But yeah, Tom Nolan, they're really hyping him up. He got knocked out in his UFC debut, but he's 6'3" at lightweight. It's just ridiculously tall. They really want him to do well. Here's a number for some of you at home. Tom Nolan has a negative ape index. His arms are shorter than he is tall. So what he has to make sure he's doing is he can't rely on the boxing too much, because you're always going to be in your opponent's punching range, even if you're the taller fighter. There's lots of ways that you can ameliorate that, lots of things you can do. But based on his fight so far, I think we have a second James Vick. Look up James Vick's career and look at all those KOs at the end of it. That's where I think Tom Nolan is going. Prove me wrong, man. Go ahead. But that's where I see things going.
Condemned.
Nice knee KO, though. Like a solid.
Very solid, yeah.
But yeah, we will see if he is the prospect they want him to be. Before that, oh my goodness, we unlocked our fighter finally.
Yeah, dude, that's what he looks like. Nice, man.
Umar C versus Tuco Tokos. This is what I love to see in a grappling match. If guys are wrestling, the fight doesn't have to suck. It actually doesn't have to be boring. And this is proof of it. And Omar C wasn't even, it wasn't that he just outmuscled his opponent. Which he did. And he also has the largest reach now at light heavyweight. He's an enormous dude, and he's not a power puncher. He is just wrestling the other dude to the ground and immediately attacking his neck. But he has like the physical gifts to force that position without throwing a single punch. I actually don't know if he did throw a single strike.
I think he's threw one.
Uh,
Yeah, I threw one.
yeah. He has 2 takedowns
That's it, man.
and 1 submission.
One punch, one kill, man. The punch is what did it. He was rocked.
Clearly. No, Tuco threw several very strong kicks right off the bat. I really don't understand why strikers still throw kicks naked against grapplers. Like, why are you offering them your leg? That's what they have to shoot to grab.
Yeah.
Why are you just giving it to them? You have to set up your kicks properly. You can't throw them naked. Naked kicks are how guys get knocked out or taken down. Stop doing it. But I don't want to take anything away from C because he looked outstanding. He had a perfect debut. He got an awesome rear naked choke. And honestly, I enjoy prospects coming out of France. I want the UFC to be more international. I want us to have more talent coming from around the world. I really do.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
it's so much
That's
more
what you want.
exciting. It's so much more exciting to have, because a gym in France that is developing now is not going to teach the same things as like AKA in the United States.
Yeah. Oh.
Is not going to teach the same things as City Kickboxing in New Zealand.
But you don't like Fembo from Zimbabwe, huh? Interesting.
He's training in the US now.
Wow, but I mean, that's where he's from, right?
But again, what I'm specifically
You want
talking
gyms.
about
You want
is
international gyms going on.
I want gyms in different places to come up with different solutions to the same problems, because that's what will make the sport more interesting.
Yeah.
That's how you get new techniques and new looks, which is awesome, right? So I'm really happy. Got another dude who's a fan, or I'm a fan of now. No, he's a fan of me.
Yeah, dude. He's a
I'm
fan. He
of
loves the
MRC.
pod, man. Did you hear his post fight when he's like, "I love the UCF podcast"? That's great.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Thanks for the shout out, man. We appreciate it.
Make sure to look up Umar C UCF podcast. Get that in the search algorithm.
Yeah, just start spamming that in the comments. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was another very short fight. This one
Yeah,
ended
yeah.
as well.
Can we talk about the tit shot now?
We really
Are we there? We're ready.
We're finally ready. This was a historic event. A lot of people don't realize it, but this actually was a historic event. This is the first ever TKO victory via boob punch.
You gotta
Walk us
attack
through it.
the breast. But I can't walk anyone through it. I don't know. It's impossible. She got punched in the tit, and then she like turned around. She like lifted, like raised her arm and like turned around, and it was like, okay. She's lucky she didn't get like fucking, I don't know, like knocked out from that. Just the immediate drop of the guard and like turning. It's like, holy shit, man, what are you fucking doing? Anyway, she got punched in the tit though. That's crazy. I honestly, like, it must hurt pretty bad. Like, I mean, I don't have tits, but I can only assume that that's got to be pretty rough, I guess, if you end the fight over it.
This is like actually unexplored territory. It's so interesting to me because immediately after, the broadcast team made sure they picked up what the referee was saying to both Vidal and her corner. It was a legal strike. This counts as a TKO. This is not something you see women doing a lot in MMA. Like, people are not, body shots are underutilized in all walks of MMA. Is this actually a viable technique? Because Vidal she had an ice pack to her chest after the fight.
It's such like a weird thing. Like, I don't know. Like, I know we're ignorant. We're horrible people. We didn't ask a woman about this. I guess we should. But like, is it that much worse? Or did she have like, I don't know, like fucking nipple piercing on or something, like that like made it like really bad? I don't know.
Well, they definitely can't fight with a nipple piercing. You have to take your piercings out. If you ever see guys with tape on their ears, it's because they normally wear hoop earrings.
Yeah,
they're just trying to keep their ear intact.
But that's what I mean. Like, I don't know. It just seems like, and like maybe maybe it was just I saw it wrong, but it didn't seem like it was that hard of a strike. Like, did she just think it was illegal and was just trying to? That's the only thing that seems to make actual sense to me.
It's possible. It's possible that she was trying to appeal to the referee that she thought it wasn't a fair strike, but
I'm Googling.
It was an immediate reaction. When you see a guy really get kicked in the cup hard, and there's like the moment where he's fighting and he just goes, "Oh shit, dude!" Just puts his hand up and like grabs his cup. That's what she was doing. She turned away and she's like, "Oh fuck!" Right? Like, her chest really hurt. So, why am I so excited about this? Is this a legitimate technique to finish fights?
Maybe, right? Go for the tit shot.
Holy smokes. Did she accidentally? Like, really, props to Melissa Gatto. You may have actually discovered a new technique live on broadcast. If that's true, you really have to take ownership of that.
Those are the new techniques we're talking about, man. We need the tit shots. We
Exactly.
need them.
And speaking of things that we need, it's not Abu Smagomedov. In the fight prior, we had Abu Smagomedov versus Warley Alves. This was a slow fight. We have officially 6 takedowns for Abu Smagomedov. He dominated this fight in the worst, most boring way possible. He had a little bit of ground and pound at moments in the fight, but really this was just holding Warley Alves on his back. I talked earlier about how Omar Sy, grappling matches don't have to suck. They don't have to be boring. I want referees to start standing fights up. I want referees to break up shit on the cage.
Yeah.
If nothing's happening, you should probably stop the action. That's my hot take. I'm sorry.
You're fucked up.
Yeah, but really though,
I understand.
What is the purpose? What is the purpose of this? Like, we're supposed to be on a damage-based scoring system. I always bring this up.
Yeah, there's kind of like a common thread of the past few of these podcasts, where we're kind of talking about the scoring system and stuff.
A little bit. At least I would say there weren't any robberies on this one. At least the judges were watching.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But not a lot of close fights for them to screw up either.
Yeah.
But yeah, Abu Smagomedov gets the win, unanimous decision. Pretty much the whole fight in control time. I hope he doesn't fight like this in the future. Before that, we had our
let's go, baby.
Victory.
We're out here. We got drama. We got problems. Okay, so Rodriguez is winning the entire fight, like, very handily. Clearly, she's going to get unanimous decision. I don't think there's any way she wouldn't have, in my opinion. Maybe this would have been the robbery or something like that. I don't know. But when you look at, like, significant strikes compared to total strikes, I mean, she's clearly dominating. Carnelossi is not doing very well at all. And they get down on the ground, and just inexplicably, Rodriguez headbutts Carnelossi 2 times. Had to put the second one in to make sure that everyone knew it was, like, intentional. And then, of course, there's the all to-do, and wow, I can't believe you headbutted her. And then, Carnelossi decides to take the win. And, I honestly, God, this is, like, one of the funniest things I think I've ever seen in the UFC, because it's just like, what are you fucking, like, are you out of your mind? But, of course, I have to bring it up. I'm sure some people have already seen this, but Rodriguez went online and on her social media, here's what she posted. I'd rather lose a fight because of a mistake I did than go home calling myself a winner, in scare quotes, knowing I am a coward. I made a big mistake, maybe because of adrenaline. But you have to go to sleep with that lie in your head your entire life, at Carnelossi. And you call yourself brave, ? I hope you and your team enjoy my money. To my real fans, I'm so sorry. I don't know, dude. You're out there, you do 2 fucking headbutts. I get being upset, but like, what did you think was gonna fucking happen? Am I out of my mind? What are you doing?
You're really not out of your mind. There are just, I think if you spend your entire life like trying to hype yourself up that you are the best in the world at something, like, you have to become delusional. It's a part of the process. So, like, this is in isolation, she sounds completely insane, but I honestly think this is how most fighters think.
Maybe. And, like, I get it. Like, it sucks to lose, right? It sucks to lose. Like, when you were winning, you were absolutely winning. Yes. But it's like, you have to enforce it, Like, if that's the rule, like, it has to be enforced. You can't just be like, well, and yeah, Carlos, you could have just kept going. But I don't know. I don't really blame her for taking the fucking bag, honestly. Like, you might as well.
Really can't, right? Now, like, the most famous example of something like this happening is when Aljamain Sterling first won his bantamweight belt against Petr Yan by DQ. And that was the first time and the only time it's ever happened. We've had moments get close where fighters decided to keep fighting even though they had been illegally striked. And this is where the contention comes up, is that like, when Anthony Smith was illegally kneed by John Jones, he could have said he was too injured to continue fighting, and he would have become the champion. He would have defeated John Jones. And he decided not to. He doesn't have a bigger house because he decided not to. He has nothing because he decided not to. And people still to this day make fun of him for making that decision because he could have improved his life. Sterling decided that he would take the W for being kneed on the ground illegally by his opponent. People still to this day say Sterling was faking his injury, that he wasn't really hurt.
Yeah.
And also, Sterling did shoot himself in the foot because in his post-fight interview, he's like, I didn't want to win the belt this way. It doesn't feel like a real win. And then immediately after on social media, he's seen like partying with his friends, celebrating the win. So that's why he got bit in the ass for that.
Yeah.
Like that's the line. Like this is a fine line scenario where, yeah, you didn't really beat this other person in the fight, but they were cheating.
Right.
And these things have rules. They have rules for a reason because
You
we have
have
the
to
concept of a
enforce
fair
them.
fight. We have weight divisions for a reason, right? Like you have to enforce them.
And
Exactly.
that whole like they're faking, that's been a lot of conversation online. I've seen that too. That Carlosi was acting or whatever. But like I don't know, honestly, like 2 headbutts right to the head like that, that could rock you easily, man. That you get a little jostled around up there, get a little confused, get a little dizzy. Might be fucked for the rest of the fight if she kept going. Honestly, like I don't know.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right because something that so many people know about is that an eye poke can change the whole look of a fight. One foul can change how the whole fight is
Yeah,
going.
and that's why they're fouls, is because it's an
Exactly.
unfair ability for a person to just completely turn the tides. In theory, right? It's just in situations like this where the tide wasn't getting turned at all. It was just the completely pointless, just laying it on. Where it's like I don't know, dude, you're just a fucking idiot.
But yeah,
Good
thank you
fight.
for reading out her
Yeah,
intense
sorry,
quote
dude. I
from
saw
Twitter.
that. I know. And I was like, this is such distilled cope. It's got to go in the pod.
Hell yeah. Before that, we had Alon Gailey versus Clydeson Rodriguez. Unanimous decision for Antigali. I honestly missed this fight. I tried to pick up some highlights after the fact. It looked like he had very impressive grappling, and Rodriguez really couldn't get anything going. He got a unanimous decision for this. We got another win for a dude with one name, no last name.
Yeah, this one I did think could have maybe been a split decision. I think Rodriguez actually looked pretty good in round 2, a little bit, but I don't know. Honestly, I could go either way on that. I mean, given that losing guy 1 round is, the classic compensation, but yeah, it was good. It was good. It's pretty good.
Nice. And our early Fight Pass prelim was Vanessa Demopoulos versus Emily Ducote. And honestly, this is the only other fight besides the main event that had strikes go above 100 for either fighter.
Actually, like a very solid fight, and I don't think many people were expecting it to be that solid. I don't know. I didn't really think it was, but they were looking pretty good, and it was. It was just classic, just standing up, punching the shit out of each other. Both of them looked pretty good. I mean, I don't know. Are these two like pretty new fighters? Or they kind of been at this for a while? No, yeah, they're
They are up and coming in the
Demopoulos is
UFC.
Demopoulos has been at it for a bit, yeah. But yeah, actually a pretty good matchup there. I'll give the matchmakers this one, and a split decision in the end. This was the only one. I don't know. But people I was watching went through kind of debating this one a little bit, but I think it probably went to the right person in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And with a fight this close, it can be hard to like. It can be really hard to give the nod to the right person, but the judges just weren't messing around as much this night. So
Yeah, well, it was harder for them to do it. Like you said, a lot of these were pretty one-sided in certain ways.
yeah, yeah. Well, and even a DQ. Thank God you kept the judges away from that one too.
Oh, yeah. God, dude.
Um,
Yeah, got any
but
final thoughts for fight night? Barboza
really, I
versus
mean,
Murphy?
the big thing that you hear about these sorts of smaller fight cards without a bunch of names is that you never really know how the fights are going to shake out. You can't just judge a fight card by the names on the card. And this did, in a lot of ways, prove that. But the real takeaway from this card is you had a lot of prospects on it. You had a lot of guys on the come up who have run into bumps. So this is almost like a second chance for a bunch of prospects. Chaos Williams had a big loss at welterweight. Adrian Yanez had 2 big setbacks at bantamweight. Angela Hill has been trading wins and losses for a long time. Tom Nolan lost his UFC debut. Omar Sy had his UFC debut. You had a lot of prospects getting a little bit of shine on this card, and you're probably going to see some of these guys going far and becoming at least one of these guys on this card or gal is probably going to end up being a very big deal in the future. Lerone Murphy, the most obvious, as he's gone from a prospect to contender over the course of this weekend. That's my biggest takeaway is that Lerone Murphy really matured
He's looking
and
good.
made it.
And Melissa Gatto should change her like nickname to like the breast breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The implant popper.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, dude. The ice pack. I don't know. I'm not over it. I'll never be over it.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for joining us for another UCF podcast. You won't see us next weekend. The UFC is taking a week off, but we'll be with you the weekend after that for some more fights. And, stay
Yeah.
safe. And
Stay safe, and we love women here.
we love women.
Thank you, women.